All right, so it's 3 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and begin. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on the USDA Food Safety and Inspection Services webinar on the Cooperative Interstate Shipment Program and other USDA resources that are available for small-scale meat processors. My name is Caitlin Keller. I'm a program specialist in the Outreach and Partnership Division at the USDA Food Safety and Inspection Service. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First, I've mentioned this once already, but please mute your line to ensure there's no feedback or background noise while our guest speakers are talking. And second, there's a lot of information our speakers want to provide in this time today, so we ask that you hold any questions until the end of the presentation where we have allotted time for them. With that, we'll go ahead and dive right in. In the next hour, we're going to be covering the basics of the Cooperative Interstate Shipment Program, or CIS program. We'll then hear perspectives from a participating state program director, Cindy Klug, as well as the participating processor, Brian Letzo from Twin City Pack Incorporated, both out of Wisconsin. Lastly, we'll hear from USDA Senior Advisor Eleanor Starmer about other available USDA resources for small-scale processors housed under the USDA Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative. To kick us off and give an overview of the CIS program, I'm pleased to introduce Elaine Height, also from our Outreach and Partnership Division. Elaine is a member of the Small Plant Help Desk staff and former Select Establishment Coordinator for the CIS program. Elaine?
Thank you, Caitlin. It's so good to be with you all today and talk about the programs offered through Outreach Partnership Division as well as Cooperative Interstate Shipment. To start off with FSIS missions, FSIS is the public health agency within the USDA responsible for ensuring the nation's commercial meat supply is wholesome and safe for consumption. On the next slide, our regulatory authorities include the Federal Meat Inspection Act, the Poultry Products Inspection Act, the Egg Products Inspection Act, and Humane Methods of Slaughter Act. Our Office of Field Operations personnel consists of approximately 9,000 employees total, with over 7,000 of those employees dispersed throughout the nation. The Office of Field Operation manages inspection and enforcement activities nationwide, ensuring that domestically produced meat, poultry, and egg products are safe, secure, and properly labeled. The Office of Outreach, Employee Education, and Training is responsible for directing outreach, education, and training programs designed to ensure public health and food safety through both inspection and enforcement. This is accomplished through our outreach activities, our resources to small and very small plants, the technical assistance that we offer at the small and very small plant help desk, through regulations, policies, and other FSIS systems, as well as the FSIS cooperative activities with state agencies. There are 27 states that maintain MPI programs, and FSIS provides guidance to the state and local government agencies on the use of science-driven, risk-based approaches to the control of foodborne hazards. Currently, 27 states in the United States have meat inspection programs. These states operate their meat poultry inspection programs under at least equal to status. They are limited to intrastate commerce. Additional cooperative programs include state cooperative MPI agreements, the Talmadge-Aiken Agreement, cross-utilization agreements, custom-exempt agreements, Egg Products Inspection Agreement, and the Cooperative Interstate Shipment Agreement. So let's talk about Cooperative Interstate Shipment. It's part of the 2008 Farm Bill, and the proposed regulation was published in September of 2009. Final Cooperative Interstate Shipment rules include the requirement that state plants adhere fully with federal standards. These are considered same as requirements. State inspectors covered by the select plants receive same as training side by side with our own OFO people. Meat and poultry products produced under the program bear an official federal mark of inspection. FSIS provides oversight and enforcement of the program. FSIS is required to reimburse states for at least 60% of their eligible costs related to inspection of selected establishments. And I would also like to add that at this time, we cover 100% of the training expenses for the state staff. Providing federal oversight is accomplished in the form of the Select Establishment Coordinator. The Select Establishment Coordinator is responsible for verifying that selected plants receive necessary inspection services from designated personnel. Those designated personnel, we have two positions currently. One is vacant. The other one is filled by Mr. Tom Beck out of Des Moines, Iowa District Office. The Select Establishment Coordinator authorized to initiate any appropriate enforcement actions provided for in the agency's rules as practice and regulations. The SEC is to file quarterly reports on the status of the select establishments under their jurisdiction. The current status of the program is that there are 4 states that are that are participating in the program. North Dakota is inactive at this time, while 3 states continue to grow under the program. They are Ohio, Indiana, and Wisconsin. Ohio was one of the first states to participate and get started. Wisconsin also has been an active participant, and both states continue to add plants to their roster, as well as Indiana, who, though has been under the program for just a short amount of time, they have already 2 plants that are participating. State participation in CIS, if your state is interested in participating or how they can apply, states that are interested need to be designated the same as FSIS inspection services, and this is accomplished through an audit. State personnel complete FSIS-sponsored training in federal inspection methodology, and the laboratory services must be capable of producing the same results as FSIS laboratories, including specificity and sensitivity of testing. It is limited to states that have implemented a cooperative state meat or poultry products inspection program. States are required to submit a written request to FSIS that demonstrates that the inspection services they provide to select establishments will be the same as inspection services that FSIS provides to federally inspected establishments. State personnel will need to complete FSIS-sponsored training, as previously mentioned, and laboratory services that the state use to analyze samples collected on their cooperative interstate shipment must be capable of producing the same results. FSIS laboratories are ISO 1725 accredited. And that concludes my portion of the presentation. Thank you, Caitlin.
Great. Thank you so much, Elaine. Now that we've covered the basics, I'll turn it over to Cindy Clues, Director of the State of Wisconsin Meat Safety and Inspection Bureau, to hear more about the program from a participating state's perspective. Cindy?
Thank you, Caitlin, for letting us participate in the webinar. And I hope if I'm too loud, let me know, because I do not have an indoor voice.
Sounds great so far.
Okay. Next slide, please. Wisconsin got into the Cooperative Interstate Shipment program. We finally got on board in early 2013, but we have been a state-inspected program since 1968. Currently, we have 284 officially licensed establishments, 53 custom exempt. We currently have 7 establishments participating in the Cooperative Interstate Shipment Program, and at this time all of them are shipping products or products that are a result of their service across state lines. Next slide, please. How Wisconsin got started in interstate. Our plants have been interested in being able to go across state lines since 1968. Also, there was an increased interest when the HACCP rule started that once we all went HACCP, we'd be able to ship across state lines. So when the rule passed in the 2008 Farm Bill, at that time we also started surveying our plants to see if there was really any interest. We recommended that our plants, if they had any comments from the final rule, participate and add those comments. And so when the final rule came on board, let me go back. In the initial survey, we had about 30 to 35 plants interested. So once the final rule came through, we surveyed our plants again in 2012 and still had that 10% interest, 30 to 35 plants. At that time, like I said, 28 really, really wanted to, 30 to the other few would like to, but knew that they had to add on to their plants because they were at capacity at that time. So seeing that there was about 10% interest, the state of Wisconsin decided to go ahead and pursue applying for the Interstate Shipment Program. Next slide, please. The state of Wisconsin program was accepted in the CIS in January of 2013, and that was after we sent the first 2 batches of inspectors to CIS training. Our lab was determined, they were going through their review process as well to determine that at least their microbiology protocol, sampling protocol was determined to be same as. Computers and forms was a slam dunk because we were using FSIS equipment, so that was an easy same as. We had to open up our Department of Ag Trade and Consumer Protection rules to incorporate the regulations for interstate shipment. So that was going to close out in April. And so in January of 2013, through everything we had done as well as everything we were going to complete, it was determined that we could participate in the program. Opened it up. Our first establishment, Wittenbach Meats, was accepted into the Cooperative Interstate Shipment Program of August of 2013. And our second establishment, and you will be listening to the owner in a little bit, Twin Cities Pack was accepted in April of 2014. The hardest part to me for this initial acceptance was I had quite a few phone calls from producers that wanted me to talk to a plant and make them get into cooperative interstate shipment so that that person then could take their animals or their product to this plant, have the CIS legend put on it, and sell it interstate. And I had to continuously remind people that this is a voluntary program as far as our plants are concerned, and that if they felt that that was a service they wanted that plant to provide, the discussion truly had to be at the producer and the plant level. And after 8 months, I think everybody's pretty much convinced that that's where the discussion stays, because I haven't had any calls for a while from producers. Next slide, please. The plants that are participating in the Cooperative Interstate Shipment Program so far, we have 4 plants that are producing pizzas, which didn't think pizza would be our front runner, but it's the distributors that asked the plants to go interstate so they didn't have to separate the state product from the federal product on their trucks, so they didn't accidentally go into Minnesota or Iowa or Illinois with products that bore the state mark of inspection. We have 1 plant producing bratwurst patties, and that truly was the plant owner's impetus, is he wanted his product to go into Upper Michigan. We have 1 plant that's producing plant sticks or snack sticks and now a variety of other smoked sausages. Again, they wanted their product to go into interstate shipment. And again, we have Twin City Packing, who is harvesting and processing poultry, Brian really wanted to get into this because there's so many poultry producers 12 miles away across the Illinois state border that wanted to come to his plant. They could stand on a hill and see his plant, but they had to go 4 hours south to get to an Illinois plant that would slaughter their birds so they could sell them in Illinois. Next slide, please. And we have 6 more plants on deck. We have 3 plants that are currently producing the dry and semi-dry sausages. Salami's a big one, and they truly want to take their product across state lines. We have 1 plant that want to harvest and process beef. That it truly was a grass-fed producer in another state that wanted them to slaughter and process their beef. Again, the plant that's harvesting roaster hogs, it's a producer that wanted the plant to go interstate so they could take their hogs into Illinois. And then the last plant that's producing bratwurst, which in Wisconsin you think that'd be our number 1, but it isn't. But they truly feel their product will do well in interstate shipment. And so right now, once we're all done, that'll be about 13 plants. So we're not quite at our 10%. I'd say we had about 5 plants go under the federal grant of inspection because they didn't want to wait for cooperative interstate shipment anymore. But overall, I would say for the state of Wisconsin, this has been a very successful program for us, especially in the Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food local producer. This program truly was made, in my opinion, for that Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Cindy. And now we'll hear from Brian Letzo, who's the owner and operator of Twin City Pack Incorporated, to hear about cooperative interstate shipment from a participating processor.
Hello.
Brian? Hello.
So, yeah, as Cindy mentioned before, there's been a great desire for the Illinois folk to want to come to this establishment to have their birds processed because we're less than 5 miles from the state line. And it's been a concern for them for many years because, like she mentioned, the closest plant that was inspected was 4 hours south. There are other people that do it, but it wasn't inspected product. And the majority of my customers do go to farmer markets. They do go to restaurants. And then I have a lot of 4-H kids that do projects, and they require that they go to an inspected plant to give the product back to the buyer at the 4-H sale. And next slide. Got a picture of our nice little establishment, and actually it was opened up in 1982 just to do hog and cattle. And back in the late 90s when pork market kind of took a dive in this area, the previous owner decided to make a decision just to go all poultry. And that had a lot to do with HACCP too, because in the late 90s, combining fur and feathers, in the same building wasn't a good idea. So that's how this place came about. And I took over in 2004. So, and we've been waiting for this farm bill thing to come along, and the customers are real happy. Last year, I didn't see too much of a demand for it because the word didn't get out. Next slide, please. So last May, I put ads throughout northern Illinois, but I didn't receive much feedback on them. But I did try to get the word out that they're able to bring their product here and legally cross state lines. Next slide, please. That gives you a nice little picture of our product. We do frozen product mostly. That's what the customer wants. We do offer fresh product if they, let us know. But otherwise, everything's frozen. We are certified organic also. And I do have a customer that sells to Whole Foods, so I'm audited every year by Whole Foods. Next slide. And this is our first interstate shipping customer that we had last May. Now, she doesn't live by the state lines, but she was the first one to get labels, of interstate shipping labels, on her product. And I've seen this year, business has been up a little bit because the word's been getting out that the customers can legally go across state lines now. So I'm just hoping in the future that, you know, with the word getting out and the people with growing their birds, that they give us a call and we can take care of their needs. And yeah, we have a web page of TwinCitiesPack.com, and I'm not much into this, but my daughter set up a Facebook page.
Thank you, Brian, for sharing information on your business.
You're welcome.
And just a reminder for everyone, we will be taking questions at the end. But before we do, we're going to switch gears a bit to first discuss some additional USDA programs that might be relevant for small meat processors. Eleanor Starmer, Senior Advisor in the USDA Office of the Secretary and lead for USDA Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative, will take it from here. Eleanor?
Great. Thanks, Caitlin. And can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you great.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the USDA resources that we have available for small plants. And some of these, as we've heard, are specifically geared towards those plants who are working with a customer base and selling into markets where the buyers are really interested in learning more about where their food comes from. And that's really the focus of our Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative, is to take advantage of some of these new market opportunities. Next slide. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of new opportunities for small plants that are coming online due to the increase in consumer demand for new products that have a story to them. Folks at the grocery store or at the farmer's market are really interested in supporting their local producers with their food dollar. They want to know where things come from. They want to understand more about how the product was raised or grown. And that creates a real opportunity for small businesses and local products. And local does not necessarily just mean within the boundaries of a state. I think there's a lot of opportunity, as we heard, for folks, for example, in Wisconsin selling into Illinois and other adjacent states. People consider that to be part of their local area, part of their region, and they feel comfortable making those purchases. So we want to do everything we can to create opportunities for those plants to be able to take advantage of that business. When we have found that when businesses think about this customer and keep that in mind, they're able to capture higher margins by marketing specifically to that customer. But they also have very unique business models and needs, and there is a need to really communicate about the products to the consumer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the resources we have available for that. Next slide. This is just a chart to show some of these this growth in the market for consumers who want to buy local and know that they're buying from small businesses in their region. We see 87% of shoppers at grocery stores, according to the Grocery Manufacturers Association, consider whether a grocer is sourcing from local farms and businesses. We've seen a huge increase in farmers markets and in food hubs, which are doing a lot of aggregation of products from smaller farms. We see a very significant market in schools that are getting interested in buying meat from their local producers, and a lot of farmers and ranchers nationwide that are selling locally. I think when people think of a farmer's market, they often think of fruits and vegetables. But we have also seen that meat is a huge market opportunity here, and there's a great demand for that. The market size of the local food market was estimated to be about $12 billion last year, and the industry is saying it could grow to $20 billion in 2020. So again, big opportunity for some of the plants that are engaged in CIS and small plants in general to be able to take advantage of this new demand. Next slide. There's a lot of words on this slide, so you don't need to remember them all, but the point here is that USDA has programs across our very large department that can serve all different types of producers and businesses in the supply chain for food. And that includes a lot of resources for processing facilities. I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of these resources, and I'm also going to direct you to a place online where you can find all of this information and more. Next slide, please. And the way that we coordinate this work at USDA is through something called the Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative. And this is really a way of our own folks across this big department understanding the resources that we have in every different part of the department. FSIS is obviously very engaged in working with plants on CIS and in doing the inspection, but we have other parts of USDA that can support processing facilities through grant programs. And we want to make sure that all of our different agencies are talking to each other and that we're talking to you in a way that you can access all of the information that you need. So I'll talk a little bit more in a second about how this initiative works and some of the resources that we have. Next slide. We developed as part of this initiative a toolkit for small and mid-sized livestock and poultry producers and processors. And this toolkit is available online on the website down at the bottom of the slide here, usda.gov/knowyourfarmer. You'll find a tools and resources page on that website, and that'll take you to this toolkit, which we will be updating regularly. This is a great compendium of resources for small and mid-sized producers and processors from across all of USDA. Next slide. I just want to give you a sense of what's in the toolkit. It has information on different grant and loan opportunities that you might want to utilize. For example, to expand your plant, to work on marketing opportunities, and other efforts you might want to undertake. There's information in this toolkit about food safety tools, marketing assistance resources. If you're interested in organic, either becoming a certified organic processing facility or working with organic producers, there's information on that as well. And there's information on partnerships that you might develop in order to increase access to these markets. Next slide. Just want to give you a couple examples of the types of grant opportunities that we have. The first one I'll mention is our Value-Added Producer Grants Program. And this is run through Rural Development, which is one agency within the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Rural Development has offices in every state in the country and almost every county. So you have a local contact that you can reach out to find more about these resources. But just briefly, the Value-Added Producer Grant Program is something that is available to producers, to agricultural producer co-ops. So if you are a producer-owned facility or a co-op facility, this would be a good grant opportunity for you. It can be used for business planning, researching new markets, feasibility studies, construction, equipment, and working capital. And typical awards are up to $200,000 for working capital or $75,000 for a planning project. So that's just one example of a grant that you might want to explore. Next slide. Just one example of how someone's used this. We have a producer in southeast Wisconsin who wanted to process his lambs, but he did not have a processing facility that he could access in his area. He was able to get a value-added producer grant for $150,000 to do a feasibility study and plan the opening of the facility. And he was then able to leverage other funds to actually build the facility. That's up and running. He's got 6 full-time employees and works with 30 different producers. Next slide, please. Another opportunity is our Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program. This is also through Rural Development. It's a guaranteed loan. It can be used for construction, for equipment, working capital, and it's a great loan option for folks who are interested in building a plant or expanding a plant. Next slide. And one example of that is in Missouri. We have a processing facility, Cobble Country Meats. They were able to use a Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan to start up their processing facility, which also has a retail storefront. This is a facility that primarily works with local producers, and they're able to do the processing and then also have the retail store alongside that. And that was financed with a B&I guaranteed loan. Next slide. And the last one I'll mention is Rural Business Development Grant. This is, again, through Rural Development. It's available to nonprofits and to public entities that can work to plan and construct business opportunities. Next slide. And one example here, we had a nonprofit in New York that actually used this grant to develop a mobile slaughter unit, and that was something that then provided local ranchers access to slaughter and processing equipment. Ultimately, that plant was actually eventually sold to a producer who now operates it off of his facility. Next slide. And I'm going to just mention a couple grants quickly that come through another part of USDA, which is our Agricultural Marketing Service. One option is the Federal State Marketing Improvement Program. This is a program that's actually used by state departments of agriculture who can partner with local entities. And it can really be used to explore opportunities and challenges in marketing, transporting, and distributing food. Next slide. Here's an example, actually a couple examples. In Massachusetts, we had the Department of Ag partner with an organization that was looking into processing options to serve small-scale meat producers. In Michigan, they actually developed a beef traceability model that could be implemented by producers. And in South Dakota, we saw them work with the Intertribal Buffalo Council to look at how they could better target marketing materials to increase the purchase of bison meat. So, if you are a for-profit plant, this might not be the best option for you, but it's certainly something to be aware of as you look at partnerships and ways that you might be able to tie into some of these grants to benefit from the information that they are coming up with. Next slide. Another one from Ag Marketing Service is our Farmers Market and Local Food Promotion Program. And there are two programs. Farmers Market Promotion Program is really focused on folks who are doing direct farm-to-consumer marketing projects. The one I want to highlight for all of you is a Local Food Promotion Program. And this is a grant program that helps local and regional food businesses that might serve as intermediaries to do processing and distribution of locally produced food. So that could be a processing facility, it could be a food hub, or another type of sort of intermediary entity. Next slide. And again, this is some information on the Local Food Promotion Program. It is available for-profit businesses as well as for nonprofits. And there is both planning awards, if you're looking at business feasibility or market planning, as well as implementation awards that can be used for a range of activities, including equipment purchases. Next slide. And just one example, I believe this was actually done through the Farmers Market Promotion Program a couple years ago, but in Cornell we saw Extension actually use this grant to expand access to locally produced meat through a consumer education campaign, and they also developed a meat locker facility that could serve as a food distribution hub. Next slide. Our Ag Marketing Service also runs a grass-fed program for small and very small meat producers. So if you are either a producer yourself or you are working with small and very small meat producers who are interested in having their beef labeled as grass-fed, certified grass-fed, there is a program that provides a more economical approach for small producers to receive this certification. And that grass-fed certification can then be put on the label. And I will, at the end of this presentation, give you the website that will have information on all of this. Next slide. So here is the website that you can access to learn more about the grass-fed small and very small program. But again, when I give you the website for our Know Your Farmer initiative, all of this is also listed there. Next slide. So I mentioned we've got an initiative here where we are trying to be a one-stop shop for this type of information that might be relevant for you and give you kind of a portal into all of USDA to learn about the resources that we have available. Next slide. If you go on the website, you will find a list of grants and loans that are, there's about 30 of them listed there, and they'll give you the type of information that I just provided, a short synopsis of what the grant or loan opportunity is, who's eligible to apply for it, and the type of things that you might be able to finance through this grant or loan. It'll also tell you how to find more information by connecting directly with the part of USDA that runs the program. Next slide. We also have on there something we call the Compass Map, and this was our attempt to look across those grant and loan programs that we have on the website and identify the ways in which those programs are supporting small and mid-sized producers and businesses and local and regional food work. We then put all of those investments on the map. So this map will actually help you see how USDA funds are being used in your own community or in other parts of the country to support all of this work. If you're interested in finding out how you might be able to use federal dollars for a certain type of project, you can actually search the map by keyword. So on the slide here, I just put cold storage into the search box, and it'll pop up with some examples of projects that we have funded that include a cold storage component. So it's a way of seeing how other people are using federal resources for the type of work that you might want to do. It's a great way of learning about what's happening in your own community, but also about the possibilities out there in general. Next slide. And actually, I guess that's the end of my presentation. So I encourage everyone to go to the Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food website. You can find it from the homepage at USDA. If you go to usda.gov, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner there's an icon for Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food. And that'll connect you to all the resources that I've mentioned today, including our toolkit for small and mid-sized producers and processors. I'm also always available to talk with you about opportunities and connect you with the right folks in our department to talk more about some of the grant and loan opportunities I've mentioned today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eleanor. And thank you again to all of our speakers for taking time today to discuss these programs in CIS. With that, I'd like to open it up for any questions you may have on the CIS program, the experiences in Wisconsin, or any of the resources that Eleanor mentioned. If you have a question, please state your name and affiliation first. And are there any questions on the line? I actually have a question in Wisconsin for Brian from Twin City Pack. I was wondering if you had any challenges that you faced with labeling, or if you can talk a little bit about the labeling process switching over into the CIS program.
No, the labeling process was, it didn't take long at all. I just had to submit, I just basically took the legend and changed it from the state inspection to the Cooperative Interstate and then sent it in, and we already had the product description, safe handling, and all the criteria that was on the label. And the response that we got back from DC was in a real timely fashion. It didn't take long. It was under a month, I believe.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions on the line?
Yeah, hi, this is Randy Quinville with Vermont Agency of Agriculture Meat Inspection. I was curious, there was where they talked about that the CIS will provide at least 60% of the funding. Can you indicate any kind of situations where how you would get more than the 60%?
I'm going to ask if Elaine or if Tom Beck is online, if one of you can answer that.
Well, I do know that other than training, there is no circumstances where it would be more than 60%. Now, like I mentioned before, as far the government will go 100% at this time for inspection methods training.
Okay, thanks. I just want to know that in the old plans they have, up to 50%. This one says at least 60, but basically it's probably no more than 60% plus the 100% for training costs.
That's correct.
Accurate?
Yes, this is Pam Augusta. That is what's in the in the actual Cooperative Interstate Shipment Agreement. At least 60%.
Okay, thank you. I also had a second question. I guess for Wisconsin, I was trying to figure out, did you end up having to have a separate accounting process or procedure in order to separate your CIS plan from your Meet 50/50 program?
Yeah, we did, Randy. We had to on our time reports and accounting, we have 300 is the MEAT program, and so we went with program 305 was for CIS, and that's how we had to split everything out. The hardest part we had splitting out was when an inspector state plant to a CIS plant to a state plant. That was our hardest part, figuring out how to do that travel.
Yeah, I can understand that. We had the cross-utilization program, so we have to separate that out as well. And so did you find it was additional expenses to be able to, do the accounting and stuff for that, or did it just kind of all fall into place?
Once we got through the initial bottles of aspirin and tried to figure out, what numbers and things like that, no, there really wasn't additional expense. There was more responsibility on the supervisor and myself right now to make sure the appropriate hours got in a CIS plant went to the appropriate code. That was our biggest transition period, is getting inspection staff, and when a supervisor's working in a CIS plant, to get them to get their time in that 305 code. But once everybody kind of learned that, it wasn't all too bad.
All right, thank you much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for your interest in the CIS program and your attendance today. One quick note that our small plant help desk is available for any questions you have Monday through Friday, 8 to 5:30 Eastern Time at 1-877-FSIS-HELP or infosource@fsis.usda.gov. Lastly, I'm going to leave up some contact info for the USDA speakers today, as well as Thomas Beck and Sam Ogasawara of the Office of Field Operations, who are also involved in the CIS program as the Program Manager and Select Establishment Coordinator. Again, thank you all for attending, and have a great day.